assumes that the values that our society is built on are more or less fixed or stable. They do change over time, but very slowly. And some of our values are thousands of years old, so they persist much longer than steel or other materials. That's quite astonishing, because our culture is nothing made of material. It's soft in a sense. It's not even visible directly. It's basically the outcome of the way people interact. So those values, let's consider them stable. And then basically the approach would be to say, okay, whatever you do with technology, make sure that your technology and its use is compatible with our values. And then we don't need much regulation, just we need awareness of those values and what it really means in terms of the implementation, right? That's something that probably most of you have learned. Now, how to build in privacy, okay, I mean, some people would have an idea, privacy by design. How to build in justice or dignity or happiness or security. Now, some of that is highly non-trivial, and this is exactly what we need to learn how to do it. Because maybe even the future of our society and civilization may depend on a proper use of technology. Technology should be helping people, should be empowering them. Technology should be there for us, not the other way around. But in many cases it feels like, oh, technology is forcing us to do certain kind of things. Markets are forcing us to do certain kind of things. Money is forcing us to do certain kind of things. So basically, society as of today is not built to serve humanity and the people, us. And so basically there are design issues. Those technologies sometimes are ill-designed, and that needs to change. And then we were talking about democracy. Democracy, of course, hasn't happened by chance. It was the outcome of a long and complicated historical process. There were many wars and revolutions taking place. But it's not just kind of an accident of history, like some concessions that politics had to make because of rioting people. No, the point is actually that the world became ever more complex because of technology, because of connectivity, because of more people living on this planet, because, yes, everything became more sophisticated. And complex systems cannot be well managed in a centralized way. This is the issue why societies over time become more pluralistic. So there is a natural shift from autocracy to democracy. And something else could be coming that kind of takes this tour to the next level of history. But if you wanted to control this complex world in a centralized way, you would really have to force it. And it would probably make it less efficient in terms of the ability to satisfy a large number of people with food and water and other things that are important for their lives, and with health and happiness and all those things as well. And so all those things that are listed here, I think, are important ingredients of complex societies, I would say, that have developed to a certain degree of sophistication, and before we skip any of this and put it into the garbage can, because now we can build digital platforms and run societies in a different way. Yes, of course we can do that. But the question is really, is it a good way to organize societies in a different way? And there are so many possibilities with digital technologies, of course. Okay, so here are the things that I really think matter. Human rights, human dignity, because we have seen what happens if we don't respect those things. We've seen World War II, we have seen Third Reich, fascism, Holocaust, you know, dozens of millions of people have died because we didn't have proper institutions in place. We don't want such a thing to happen again, right? So that's why certain kind of safeguards have to be taken, such as division of power, checks and balances, right? If you give all the power to one person or one supercomputer, you have to assume that that person or that supercomputer is not only well-intended, kind of benevolent as people like to say, but also does the right thing. To do the right thing, you need to have, most likely, a goal function, you know, but then the question is, what should be the goal function, you know? Should it be GDP per capita? Oh, maybe not, because that has driven the world to this climate change situation and economic collapse in many places of the world. So, should it be power or peace? Should it be life expectancy or happiness? Just assume you would tell a supercomputer or say super AI to fix the planet, meaning that, you know, come up with a sustainable way of running this planet. Oh, maybe that computer would figure out that maybe the best thing is to kill 1/3 of all the people on this planet. Could be a terrible misunderstanding, right? Maybe there's another way of fixing the problem. And I'd like to remind you that people like Hitler and Stalin, you know, they were convinced they were doing exactly the right thing for this planet, or at least for their country. Yeah, it's hard to believe, but, or Mao, right? But all of them are responsible for millions of people who died or were killed. So it's not so easy to say what is really benevolent. And there's probably not a single goal in society that would be good to be implemented for everyone, everywhere, in every single respect. And this is the reason why we have pluralism, right? So it might be annoying for some people, but the point is everyone has to figure out himself or herself what should be the goals that we should be following in our lives. And some want to be a priest, and others want to be a genius inventor, and another one wants to be an entrepreneur or a politician. Each one has different sets of values, and altogether that is what makes up society. And in many cases, yes, the fact that we do have different values and motives, altogether, if it plays together well and fair, then this makes up often a good society, right? Now assume a supercomputer or a king would tell you what should be your goal function, do you think you could really show your full performance in terms of creativity and whatever you contribute to the society? Isn't it that you have figured out that you have certain kind of talents and you want to use those talents to make a certain contribution to society that makes you successful and also contribute something important to our society? Just assume, I would have to change my role with somebody else's role. In that case, both of us would probably underperform, because I wouldn't be good at this other person's role, that person wouldn't be good in my role, right? And this is what pluralism is about. Yes, and so we've already read all those other things last time, so self-determination is needed if you want to be able to put the plan in action that you have figured out would be the best plan for your life in society. Protection of minorities, yes, I think that is very important. I mean, some people hate minorities, but hey, it turns out that our society wouldn't work at all without minorities. Professors are minorities, maybe not the most important people in the world. Politicians are minorities. Billionaires are minorities. Entrepreneurs are minorities. Artists are minorities. Intellectuals are minorities. And just imagine one of those minorities would not be there. Our society wouldn't work well. If everyone would have to behave the same, and this is often what totalitarian states expect, everyone should have the same rules. But according to Kant's categorical imperative, there's not a long list of kind of 600 or 12,000 things that you should be doing, like get up in the morning at 6:30 and polish your shoes, clean your teeth, all these kind of things, and you have to do that every day, otherwise you would get a bad citizen score. No, he just had this one rule, which was called this golden rule, which you shouldn't be doing things to other people that you don't want other people to do to you. And within this, there is a lot of flexibility. Now, in the past, for example, we had school systems which basically forced the same knowledge and principles on every single pupil. And of course, some are more talented, some are less talented, some are more talented in this subject, others are more talented in that subject, and so on. So the leading school systems in the world, for example, the Finnish one, they have a personalized learning schedule. They don't teach every pupil the same thing. They figure out, what's the level of talent and interest, and then they would come up with something that would develop those talents further, would strengthen the strengths and weaken the weaknesses in an individualized way. All based on this principle, do something good to the world, and if everyone does that, the world will do good things to you. That's the point. Yeah. Now, what is human dignity about? Any ideas? Want to hear your opinion. constitutions, that's kind of the most important thing, human dignity. So what is it about? If you don't know this, you cannot do it right, I guess. I sometimes have the feeling a lot of politicians actually don't know what human dignity is about, you know. Like a politician is being elected, you know, should have something like a driver's license for a country, in a sense, you know, and should know what the Constitution is about. Of course, the Constitution has a lot of articles in it, but whenever there is a collision of different values, different articles, then the one thing that comes down is the one thing that is not to be doubted and touched is human dignity. But then what is it? In a sense, you could say, you know, that's the only thing that politicians would need to care about. That's the main thing, really. If they manage to improve the situation in terms of human dignity, oh, people would be much happier, I guess. Well, it means in particular that people are not to be treated like objects or data or kind of data representations of people. Like if you say, I have a digital clone and basically I can do anything with this digital clone. I do simulations and I torture your clone in my computer, you know, and there's no law to forbid it, but you know, I cannot do that thing to a real person. Maybe I shouldn't even torture your clone. Right? And we shouldn't be treated like animals. And so what makes a difference? Well, we should have a say. We should be asked. If a court accuses us of some wrongdoing, we should be able to respond and prove our innocence, if so. If a decision is taken about us, or a decision that is important for our life, we should have a say. We should be able to influence this. This is what human dignity is about. And it wouldn't just be decided by somebody or something, a computer or AI system, and then it comes down on your life and it's just affecting you. You cannot change this. You know. This is not compatible with human dignity. And that's kind of the tricky part, because say you're a computer scientist, you know, and you've learned how to do big data analytics, and then you look for patterns and you find about what people are doing. Like Uber, for example, has been said they figured out who was basically taking Ubers to areas where prostitution is going on, right? So it's terribly privacy invasive, of course. With the data that Uber has, you can do all sorts of analysis of this and other kinds, right? But that's not compatible with human dignity. So say you have developed a software that does predictive analytics, right? Like for CERN. CERN is this particle accelerator, and it produces so much data it cannot store all the data. In fact, it's throwing away more than 99% of all the data being produced. Otherwise, it couldn't handle all this data. And so basically they're just looking into the kind of data that would help them to verify or falsify a certain kind of hypothesis that you're making in a certain kind of physical experiment, right? If they're looking for the decay of a certain kind of particle, they will not look into all of the other particles that would be detected over there. All of that stuff that doesn't matter for that very experiment would be thrown away. And of course there are theories that would make predictions about what happens over there, and there are competitive theories, and theory A and theory B, and they may have different predictions, and so you collect data about events that would confirm theory A, and those that confirm theory B, and those that contradict theory A, and those that contradict theory B, but everything else it would throw away. You know, maybe there would be events of entirely new particles in the data that have been measured, but you cannot look into all that stuff at the same time. I also told you about this problem of statistical coincidences, right? Of patterns that you find in the data that would be meaningless. This is a problem that you might have, and that's why CERN is expecting a probability of, I think, 10 to the minus 5 until they say, oh, now we have proved that particular particle. So it's kind of the chance that something else, I mean, that this thing would have happened, the signal, just by coincidence would be very small. Yeah, but let's say you have this predictive analytics algorithm, and it tells basically how a particle would behave, right? And I would say, okay, why don't we use that now for some other applications? So, for example, pigs, you know. Like, say you're a farmer and you want to have a digital pig farm, you know, that uses cameras and basically observes the behavior of pigs, and then based on that video analysis would optimize, using big data analytics, predictive analytics and all this would optimize the running of the pig farm. Now, according to today's ethics, would be okay, right? Maybe you could even make sure that pigs would have better conditions while they're raised and fed and so on, and so it might be serving not only commercial interests but maybe also the interests of the pigs. Why not? So the use of big data and AI could help you improve a farm, no doubt about it. You know, there's also precision farming, in particular in areas like deserts where every drop of water might make a difference, whether a plant grows or dies, or every bug could kind of ruin your harvest or not. And so some of these farmers use precision farming and maybe use drones or whatever, use cameras, then cameras would make recordings, and based on those recordings they would decide what needs to be done with a particular individual plant. You know, maybe you have to give it a bit more water, maybe you have to do something against bugs that you've detected on this one plant. If you don't do this, you would have bugs on many plants soon, and then you would either lose a lot of harvest or you would have to apply a lot of poison, and none of this would be good, right? So precision farming is certainly an interesting application area of big data and digital technologies altogether, right? And I think, okay, what else could we do with it? Now we have this business model and that business model. Let's expand our companies or big data company, and maybe we could actually use predictive analytics to hunt down terrorists. Yeah. Wouldn't it be a good thing? And once you have done terrorists, then you do criminals, and then basically, then why not apply it to unemployed? It might help them find a job more easily, and then why don't we apply it to the population altogether? And then we are in a situation where it's basically you and me and everyone else, right? So we do have now predictive analytics. I think just yesterday there was an article in the NCSET about it. Where basically Google or Amazon or so are figuring out your consumption patterns, and before you can even buy replacement, it will be delivered to you. Or it would deliver some books to you based on your previous book buying patterns. Some books that Amazon thinks you would like to read. And of course for this, they would need to know you very well, because otherwise you would return a lot of those products, right? And that would be not profitable. Right? You might think that, oh, I have this grandma, and she's sitting in her apartment, and she's not so good on her feet anymore, and maybe she could fall and injure herself, and I want to be sure that she's taken care of. So I install a camera, and basically that camera has a motion detection system, and whenever something irregular happens, it would be an alert, and the police or the ambulance would basically come by. But maybe those relatives wouldn't come by to visit grandma anymore, because grandma would be kind of fully automated, right? She would be living in an apartment that takes care of her. But maybe the only thing that grandma really cares about is seeing her daughter or son or family, and talk half an hour with somebody. This is what human dignity is about, right? We don't want grandma to be run or like a pig farm, right? That's the point. Do you get the difference? So that is what the human dignity is about. There's interesting movement now in the Netherlands. So in the health system, and in particular also the care system for elderly and handicapped people. There basically the situation is like this, like the classical system to operate these health systems is you have long lists of what is to be done with certain kind of people, how many minutes you have for this, how many minutes you have for this, and then you tick all of this basically, and it's still done by humans, but it's pretty much automated and it's all formalized and so on. And it's run by an operations center, and now this movement in the Netherlands I was talking about, that works very different. Where people who have care experience have said, we don't want to run the system this way anymore. It is not compatible with human dignity. We want to spend some time with those people. Maybe read a newspaper article to them. Maybe go out, sit on the bench in the park with them. No. Whatever. Grandma knows best what is good for her now. Maybe somebody needs to take her hand for some time, so she feels safe. Just be human, right, to grandma. And it turns out that it's cheaper, it's better, everyone loves it. The people who are taken care of, the people who are taking care of them, and it's cheaper. So even health insurances and social insurances basically love that system because they're saving money on it, right? But human dignity has nothing to do, of course, with cheap or not. I'm just saying there are very different ways you can go about problems in society. In certain systems, we are on a very dangerous path. And this ability to quantify everything, that might actually not be well compatible with human dignity, because human dignity has nothing to do with anything that can be put into numbers easily, right? There's even a danger because we are now running society based on numbers increasingly. Everything that matters to us as humans, that makes us human, like love, dignity, consciousness, freedom, things that we do care about, but that don't have a number attached, they would just be forgotten by this increasingly automated society. So that's the point. An engineer must realize there are important things that matter for humans that are not easily put in numbers. And you need to build a system that has the freedoms to take care of that. Now, part of the question of human dignity touches on self-determination, right? So assume that somebody has all the data about everything that you do, right? So in the beginning we were discussing this. Basically assume there is, say, the military, that knows everything. Everything you have said in the past 10 years, or some smartphone was, or computer was nearby, and all of that was recorded, maybe, and transcribed, and stored. And everything you've done. They know your love affairs, they know which one went well, or which one that didn't work well. They know your performance heights and lows. They know your diseases, how often you were ill, how often you were drunk, how often you were late. They know all the movies you've clicked on the internet, all the news that you've read, your hidden desires. And now assume I would have all the data about every one of you. And could have the computer send nasty emails to you, or tweets, or whatever. Blackmail you. This is happening. Not I'm doing that, of course, but it's happening to a lot of people. People who have an opinion. People who stand up for democracy or human rights, or for nature. They often are discredited on the internet, and sometimes in a personalized way. So, if other people have all the data about you and know how to manipulate you, your emotions, your opinions, your decisions, your behavior, is that compatible with human dignity? Of course not. You have no possibility to correct even that data. Now we have this point with patient records, right? And so the idea is that every doctor would be able to see into all your data that any doctor has ever collected about you. How often has a doctor been wrong about your state of health in the past? How often is there a misunderstanding? Like we know exactly, among the doctors over here in the hospital and elsewhere, there's a large number of foreign doctors, and happily they exist, but they're not always good at speaking the local language, right? How many misunderstandings are happening over there? It ends up in the files. Maybe you have told your doctor something that you thought, oh, maybe it's relevant in order for the doctor to judge what problem I might have and how to cure it. We did have a very special role of doctors in the past because of that. There was this Schweigegelübde. So they were not supposed to share that highly private, maybe intimate information with anybody. Because maybe you would only trust that one doctor and would not share something with somebody else. Now in the future, there would be the patient record, and anything would be shared with any doctor. And you can be sure that there will be some pretty bad doctors among them that would take money in order to expose personal data about patients to somebody who wants to know about you. So basically, every one of us has been, and is being even more so in the future, exposed to forces that we can't control, people and systems that we don't even know by name, where we cannot interfere to get data corrected in many cases, where we don't know what kind of data have been collected at all, what's being done with them. And it could be used to go in war with you. Suppose you wanted to be chancellor of a country or president. And there's somebody powerful who doesn't want this to happen. What do you think that powerful person will do? First thing is, get the data, get the records, and see, where's the weak spot of that person? Does it have anything to do with dignity, with democracy, with justice? No, not at all. This is just kind of, if you wanted to invent a hell of a society, that would be it, right? Where you could really torture anybody with personal data that has been collected about you. Suppose you would live in this society, right, and say, okay, then I just pay attention and I'm not going to do anything that could harm me. Oh, actually, what can you do? You would probably not be able to have a love affair, you'd have to marry the first woman or man that comes across your life. You will not be able to use the plane because you're producing CO2, and that may be considered to be a sin in the future. Same thing with eating meat. A lot of the movies you are watching on the internet, you're not supposed to watch it. Yeah? Who knows? So, how boring would your life be? Not only this, if you would restrain and restrict your life so much that there would be nothing to criticize about you, what could you do really for society? Could you engage, for example, for freedom, for environmental improvements or whatever, something where you expose yourself, and maybe the government doesn't want to have protests. No government ever wants protests, right? So basically, no, protesting is also not possible. I mean, basically, you couldn't make anything to improve such a society, right? Could you? So that's the point. If we want to have human dignity, we need to have informational self-determination. We have to be able to decide what is happening with our data. Who's using it for what? And actually, what's the problem? We could build such a system. Why are we not doing this? Right? I'm not even arguing against collecting data. We can do wonderful things with data. In many cases, we want to have personalized products and services, okay, but you decide what kind of data you have to share in order to get that personalized service. You decide. This is how it should work. Companies should be in a competition for your trust, so they would get access to the data that they need to deliver that personalized product or service. If you can't trust that company, you wouldn't share your data with that company. Some other company may earn your trust. So we would have a competition for trust. And that would be the basis for a trusted digital society. Right? Only if there's competition for trust will we ever end up in a digital society that we can trust. Where all the untrustable companies and agencies and whatever will just disappear because they couldn't get access to our data because we're not allowing them to use it. So there would be a law basically that says even if you have data about me, if I didn't allow you to use it, and you use it, well, that would be very expensive for you. There would be a big newspaper headline, and most people would lose their trust in your company, and you wouldn't make much money anymore. So that would be the mechanism, basically. But hey, you have a great startup, that uses personal data for a fantastic experience, product, service, whatever, go ahead. You will convince people to share their data for what you want to do good. Yeah, sure. And then the only question remains is how do we manage all that data? Because it's so much you cannot even imagine. It's gigabytes of data per person per day. You would have to spend a long time to count all the bits and bytes. So if you want to administer this, you need to have a good system that helps you manage your data, right? So why not use a digital assistant, something like a personal AI system, right? that personal AI system runs on your own device, doesn't share knowledge of your personality with, say, Google or some other company. Google, it seems, has just learned to decentralize, at least to some extent now, the speech assistant systems. So yes, he would learn what companies you trust, what kind of data you would be willing to share with whom, you know. So there would be kind of certain data that you would share with your best friends, maybe not with your wider circle of friends, maybe not even with your parents. There would be other data about your health status you would not even share with your best friends, but with your trustable doctor, or doctor of trust, I should say. Maybe no other doctor, actually, maybe just that one. There might be data that you would be willing to share with Google to give you a good ad, or find you a product or holiday experience that would be tailored to you. Yeah, why not? Maybe you would even be feeling lonely and allow Facebook to use some of your data to find somebody in your city to meet up with. If you want this, why not, right? But if you the next day read a headline in the newspaper that Facebook has done bad things with that data, you want to be able to stop them from using your data in the future, right? You also want to make sure that they're not spreading information about your love affairs with advertisers, for example, right? So basically, yes, why don't we build a platform that gives you informational self-determination? Now, it would be good for you, it would be even good for business, because then every company, every institution, every NGO, every scientific institution that gains your trust would be able to work with your data and do something good with it. Also SMEs, small and medium-sized enterprises, also spin-off companies. Many spin-off companies have great ideas, but basically no data access. Bad for the world, right? So yes, we should have a platform for all this data. We should have a level playing field. We should be opening up the value of this data to everyone who deserves our trust. But we should have the final word. And this is the way to build a better digital future, I think. The other thing is, if you use predictive analytics too much, it would basically be trapped in an infinite loop, because those predictive analytics algorithms are trained with data of the past. Now, if you apply the data of the past here, it would identify some patterns in your life, what you're doing, and would reinforce it. Because every week would send you to, say, a workout place or a pizza place or whatever, So basically it's repeating things based on the patterns of the past. So it would reduce your creativity and your new experiences quite dramatically, potentially, right? I mean, maybe you would even find such a life comfortable, Before you can order the pizza, somebody would ring the bell and the pizza would be there. Because they know you, and you get used to it, right? And so you stay at home. While maybe you would have left your home and walked the forest and seen nature, and that might have inspired you to fix some of the problems that we have with nature. So in this article we argue if the world would we run based on predictive analytics to stabilize all patterns into the future and all systems into the future. Well, maybe then humans would not even exist. Because it's evolution that created humans, according to scientific perspectives, established wisdom. And how does evolution work? Well, it's mutation and selection. I mean, it's basically things happen. There are modifications, random modification. It might be bad or good, but bad solutions will not spread as quickly as the good solutions. So mistakes are necessary for future success. If you don't allow unexpected things to happen, there is no evolution. So the one cellular organism, by mistake have they become bicellular organisms and multicellular organisms, eventually humans. By mistake. That's at least the point of view of evolutionary biology. If you would eliminate all mistakes, well, wonderful evolution could happen. Same thing with innovation. A lot of great inventions have been made based on misunderstandings and mistakes. Something went wrong. Oh, something interesting happened. Oh, what does it mean? Oh, maybe it's useful for something. Yeah, you need to experiment, right? So freedom of decision making is important. We shouldn't automate everything. Of course, you could automate a lot of things, but life would feel like a graveyard, terribly boring. You would be just a figure being moved by an AI system through life. To tell you, now eat, now go to university, now take this job. Don't look there. This is not the person to marry. The person to marry is actually going to take the next job. Yeah, that would be kind of a fully automated society. And yes, some people have exactly this vision. I don't have that one. I think, okay, there are a lot of things that make sense to be automated. Like, if more or less everything speaks for something, or more or less everything speaks against something, then maybe we don't want to spend much time thinking about it, just want to get it done. But actually, if some arguments speak for this and some arguments speak for that, oh, maybe we should think about it, no? Maybe it would make a big difference if you married this person or that person, right? So Caesar, for example, fell in love with Cleopatra, if I remember right, from Egypt. That had dramatic historic consequences. A single event like falling in love with somebody could change your life, and in some cases lives of thousands of millions of people, right? Yeah, so there are relevant decision points. And basically, then we should be asked, what do you want to do now? Do you want to marry this person or that person? Do you want to marry at all? No? Do you want to have this job or that job? Do you want to live in this country or that country? Could be terribly important for you, but not only for you. Could be important for everyone else as well. If you are one day the leader of a country or a company. So yeah, we should use digital technology, but we should use it to empower people to take better informed decisions, to be more creative, more innovative, to help people coordinate and cooperate, right? And if you do that, then automatically, by empowering users, customers, citizens, startups, SMEs, will lead to better services, better products, better businesses, better neighborhoods, smarter cities, smarter societies, and a better future. How much can you really change in your life at the moment, in this society? I mean, every one of us thinks, oh, come on, this could be better, and that should be changed. Why is nobody changing it? You know, and then maybe you're one of those people who are engaged in wanting to change something. You know, would really spend some effort, time, and energy to do it, and then it turns out, oh, there are some laws and regulations. You have to go this administrative tour, and something that could have been done within a day would take years, and then it might even be turned down, right? You cannot just plant a tree in your street. You can try it, and maybe you're lucky, but that's the point, right? How much can we really do? Don't you sometimes get upset about this situation? You think, yeah, come on, I'm intelligent, yeah, I know what to do, I could do better things than this, I have to waste my time for that. So why don't we build that society that really builds on our knowledge, ideas, and talents, and skills, and resources, you know? And so basically, we could benefit from combinatorial innovation. We wouldn't have to wait for decades for certain things to happen if we would just be able to add our skills, talents, ideas, you know, to make certain kind of things happen. These platforms could be built. We could build information, innovation, production, and service ecosystems where those things that do exist could be combined with other things that do exist to build new things. But that's not the case at the moment, right? I mean, basically, if you have your smartphone, then maybe you have a couple of dozen apps on your smartphone, but each of those work like a walled garden, right? It's like an own world, and it hates the app next door. It's not going to share, at least not with your knowledge, data with another app. If you want it, it probably shares data about you if you don't want it. But you don't have all those apps on your smartphone collaborate with each other to give you a better service. But it could be done. Why not? I mean, we could build a different system that is oriented at you and the world rather than just the interest of a company. Right? In times where we have to be sustainable, where kind of sustainability becomes a life or death decision for millions, if not billions of people, is it moral to be selfish? Or do we need to learn to share data, talents, and so on with others? I mean, in principle, you know, there's a whole lot of data that is being collected about us, as we have figured out in the beginning of this lecture. And illegally so. And you're not being compensated for it. Now, you may have downloaded a music piece or a movie even, or just a photograph from the internet, and you might get a letter saying, you know, you're not supposed to do this, now pay 500 Swiss francs. Or else. And actually, a lot of people have received such letters. I wonder, are there any people in here who has ever now received such a letter? So, it will probably be much worse in the future when we have this new copyright law. But the European Union is now establishing this, you know, all the debate about upload filters and so on, and will surely also come to Switzerland in one way or another, right? Okay, so companies complain about your downloading of a music title, and they're downloading your entire life without permission. They're just doing it, and they're feeding it in monstrous AI systems to learn about you, but not only you, but to learn anything, you know, to replace your work, to automate it, to learn how to speak. I mean, if you want to have an intelligent conversation with an AI system, the way basically it works is, oh, that system is scanning the entire internet for sentences that relate to that particular subject or word or sequence of keywords, and figure out how people are saying something about this in Russian or in Chinese or whatever, you know, and then you say, oh, how intelligent this AI system is, you know, it can speak several languages, can translate in real time, it can really have a conversation with me, but in fact it's just picking brains of millions or billions of people. It's downloading our way of saying sentences and our way of leading lives and all this, and nobody's paying us anything for it. That robot would most likely share data and everything it learns with other bots and AI systems. If you want to get a data set for science to improve the state of the world, you would have often very big difficulties to get access to that data set. Oh, a robot gets it for free, and by the way, you know, it will replace your job maybe in the future. You know? So we don't have to run our world this way. We could say, okay, then why don't we share that data that bots change for free with each other? Why don't we share it among people? It's our data, first of all, right? Doesn't mean you have to agree with me, but anyway, just some reflections about the state of affairs, and now we can really use digital technologies in different ways. And this is what we should be talking about. What possible digital futures, what uses of digital technologies are possible, and what are the moral implications? And even though there's not one person who says this is moral and that is not, it's important to reflect about those things and make up our minds, because if we don't do that, a lot of bad things might happen. If we do it, we might come up with much better solutions for the future. And yeah, the factorial growth is what results from combinatorial innovation. So I often say that if you want to catch up with the exponential growth of digital innovation in the Silicon Valley, so Europe wants to catch up, or Switzerland wants to catch up, then we need to use faster than exponential growth, right? So I think combinatorial innovation is the only thing that would really make us competitive when it comes to digital. What is your impression? How many years are we behind the Silicon Valley in Switzerland? Ben? I mean, given the pace and exponential acceleration, it's light years, right? Of course, sometimes you can buy stuff, okay, but then it's certainly not cutting edge. So I think it's very clear what needs to be done in order to catch up. What would be good for business, right? I don't want things that are bad for business. I want things that are good for business and society and for you and me and for nature. And it can be built. Just we need to spend a little bit more thinking about how to do that. Yes, and so how can we upgrade democracy? I think the main point is really to boost collective intelligence, right? And that means really to learn how to bring the knowledge and ideas of many minds together. And also of AI systems, why not? And for this you need to have online deliberation platforms, right? So basically, say there is a problem, this problem doesn't have yet a clear solution, it needs to be found. So basically you would engage in a dialogue. People would tweet or upload comments and ideas about this problem, basically giving a certain perspective on this problem. And then of course if you look into Twitter feeds or Facebook's news streams and so on, it can be pretty chaotic, right? And then you have those shitstorms and flame wars and all these kind of things, and this is not what you want. What you want is you want to have a platform that's piggy brains. I mean, basically, it collects ideas that people are offering on this problem. And at this stage, it's not about winning. It's not about creating a majority. I mean, today's society is very much driven by majorities, and I think it's a limitation of democracy. It's an improvement as compared to kingdoms, where one mind was telling everyone what would have to be done. Now we have more intelligent people coming in, and basically, the majority decides. But we could be doing better. Because when it comes to complex problems, then basically, it's diversity wins, not the best. It's important to have different perspectives on a complex problem. One perspective will never be enough. And even if it's a supercomputer or a super AI system, one perspective is never enough. Just imagine a beautiful church or other building. Take any picture. Not a single picture will be able to give you a good picture of the beauty of that building. You need many perspectives. And so you need many perspectives to really grasp a complex problem, right? Now here's a very nice example, the Netflix challenge. Netflix wanted to offer a better customer experience, right? And they're using big data. So basically, you watch a movie, you can rate it. And then based on all the ratings of all the people, they would try to suggest you other movies that you would like. Of course, if you are recommended some movies and you don't like them, you might turn your back on Netflix altogether. Right? They want to spend more time with Netflix. They want you to be happy with Netflix. So they need to have a good recommender algorithm. And they were using big data algorithms, and it turned out, well, the predicted satisfaction of people with the movie was often at least 1 star more or less than the actual satisfaction among 5 stars. So quite a lot of variation actually. And so basically what they did is they offered $1 million for anybody who would be able to improve their algorithm for at least 10%, as far as I recall. I was saying, oh, not so difficult, right? You're maybe a big data crack, you have a fancy algorithm, you can do it better than Netflix. But it turns out that this competition had hundreds of teams engaged with it, thousands of proposed solutions. It took, I believe, more than 2 years until this competition was settled. And nobody was able to win it by themselves. So for example here, the Belcour's pragmatic chaos that I believe was actually the best solution for a long time, and was further improved and so on and so on, but they didn't make it beyond this critical threshold to cash in the $1 million. And the story is that one day the boss of that company's team was walking into the office and said, come on guys, I mean, don't you want to do something else again after 2 years? And then they said, all right then we have to do something completely different. And what they did was they combined their algorithm with the algorithms of second best or third best team. And you would think, okay, if they do that, the best solution is combined with the second and third best, it can only get worse. Oh no, just on the contrary. It got better, it jumped across the threshold, they won the competition. Then other teams combined several of those before not good enough solutions, and they got to the same score. So it's not a single individual solution that is best for a complex problem. It's the combination of several independent solutions that creates collective intelligence. That's what we can do to improve democracy, by improving solutions. It's not majority versus minority that counts. It's to bring different perspectives and solutions together, right? In order to find solutions that work better for more people. And that basically means, oh yes, a more participatory kind of society. Right? So before we had governments that basically told the people what had to be done, and then eventually, okay, they became more transparent, and there was a little bit of listening to what's going on in the internet, and a little bit of feedback effect. And then governments were trying to become more personalized, but it's still not that they really make good use of the skills and ideas and talents and resources of their citizens. And that will change in the future. So what can we do? Yeah, basically, for example, we can run city Olympics, or city challenges, city cups, right? But that would be a friendly competition among cities and regions. Every few years, there would be a mega hackathon, extending over several months. So cities would spend some money, taxpayers' money, on new solutions to various problems. There would be the different disciplines, such as reducing climate change, such as improving energy efficiency, such as improving sustainability or resilience or solidarity in their city. And all the stakeholders, companies, big and small, media, politicians, scientists, and civil society, they could all engage. It would be like this, I could say, Spiel ohne Grenzen, games without limits, but with a serious goal. It's not just to have fun. Of course, they should also be having fun, but this would be about trying to find new and better solutions to all problems that we all share on this planet. And then because it was paid with the taxpayers' money, the outcome should be open source and Creative Commons. That means every city could pick a solution that would suit them well, like budget-wise, cultural-wise, whatever, And they could also combine different solutions. Companies could take it and develop those solutions further, right? Institutions could take them, like scientific institutions, make a contribution. But first of all, really, cities would be able to bring together their innovation capacity, taking civil society on board. I mean, you could contribute with your ideas. So it would not just be about a competition, kind of Zurich winning against Bern and Lausanne, or Stuttgart or whatever. It's more about learning from each other, experimenting and learning from each other, right? And these kind of city challenges are now taking off. Nuremberg has invested 70 million in the first year. Here is another global climate city challenge, and here's the third one. And this week we'll have a meeting in Geneva, Open Geneva. If you're interested, I think will be fantastic. And there we'll also be talking about City Olympics. We will call it Climate City Cup. And so, yes, this idea is basically taking up speed. I do think, yes, we want to live in smart cities, but it should not just be technology driven, right? There should be technologically enabled, but people should have a say. It should not just be a software that you buy and then it controls the city. I'm not sure I told you this example, but I think one of the big Indian cities that were using one of the early smart city software solutions, the mayor of that city said, if we weren't so corrupt in this city, our city would have collapsed, it wouldn't have worked anymore. Because it was not flexible, it was not adaptive. Right, there's many things that matter, and then of course, the citizens matter, first of all, and you and me. Right? This is what cities are for. So if we don't have an opportunity really to make it our city, to kind of co-create our city, then it's not our city. It would be kind of a Hasenstall for the humans. So we want to have those cities that would have all those features, including design for values, right? And so basically there would be a new approach to globalization called localization, which basically means people would have global goals, but they would experiment locally with different solutions. They would learn from each other. They would help each other. And I think this is the way to make the quickest possible progress, right? So hackathons, fab labs, maker spaces are important for this, right? This is just one of them in Amsterdam called Dirk, 400-year-old building with a famous history. Has always been an important building in that city. Now used as a fab lab, a maker space. And you'll see this picture in the building because it has been painted in that building. That's just part of a bigger picture, this one. So they've been doing this analysis of corpses to learn about the way the human body works. And I've been looking into corpses, in other words, to learn about how it works. And I'm not making any operations anymore, but still they have the same spirit, right? This is the place where they built the Fairphone. The Waag in Amsterdam, the people over there have invented it, they built it, you can buy it now in the second or third generation. The idea of this is you can open it, you can see how it works, you can repair it, you can improve it, you can upgrade it. And so a few years back the idea was that we could build a nation of makers, right? Actually, you are really the bright minds at ETH. You can learn this, right? This is really the opportunity of this wonderful institution. You can do this, right? You can build a solar car. You can do it here with some colleagues, yes, but you can do it. You can come up maybe with an algorithm for a self-driving car, like George Hotz, who did it by himself, or you could build such a solar plane, or a city taxi, electric. We could use citizen science, because people are smart, and sometimes smarter than actually the supercomputers. When it comes to folding proteins, in order to find a new medicine, a new cure for a disease, people are often better than computers. And then take OpenStreetMap, right? Invented, I think, at UCL in London, now being used all over the world. There is 1 million people, volunteers, that feed in data to keep it up to date. Streets, hiking, tracks, all of that. Isn't that amazing? And you could do the same thing actually to map the world in 3D. Mark Boniface of ETH, he's using photographs that people have uploaded to the internet in order to reconstruct the city in 3D, just from tourist photographs. Amazing, isn't it? And of course, we could run our participatory health systems and our responsible consumption systems and participatory resilience systems. And we could go a step further and engage in open source urbanism, right? Where basically the things we've learned to improve cities, that would be shared with other people, right? So the way Wikipedia works, Creative Commons or GitHub, that would be transferred to open source architecture, open source hardware, and so it would require openness, collaboration, modularity, granularity, and low-cost integration. And actually, some cities are already working on this, including Freiburg and Amsterdam. And even the chief urban designer at that time, Alessandro Washburn, he said, I cannot control anything, but I could influence everything. And he said that basically, in order to come up with successful urban design solutions, it's important to bring together top-down and bottom-up solutions. Yes, and so that's it. And so maybe in another lecture, when there's some time, I would talk about this new paradigm from top-down control to a culture of empowerment and coordination, illustrated with examples from traffic and other systems in logistics and so on. All right, have a great week. Thank you very much.